Okay. Nothing, I'm going to text Jake, let him know it's ready. All right, welcome everyone to the TGP Capstone presentations. For the past 7 days in Iceland, our students have been studying renewable energy innovation and traveling all over Iceland, learning about Iceland's applications of sustainable energy and how Iceland's being affected by climate change and how they're adapting to these changes. And also, while they've been here, they've been working on their Capstone projects, which is entrepreneurial solutions to sustainable development issues. And no idea is too big for these Capstone projects, even unfeasible ones, but they will be discussing the feasibility of their projects during their presentations. They'll have 15 minutes to present, and I will give you all, sitting back there, a 5, 3, and 1 minute mark. It's okay to go a little bit over, but please try to keep it on time, okay? After that, you'll have 5 to 10 minutes of questions, and yeah, is everybody ready? Good, all right. When you're speaking, if you just hold the microphone to your chest, here, it'll pick it up and then just pass it between each other. Okay? Cool. Begin.
Okay, hello everyone. Today we will be talking to you about CO2 sequestration using native ecosystems. So, hi, my name is Carolyn. I study environmental science at San Diego State University in California. Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Jada. I study sustainability at San Diego State University.
Hi, my name is Bridget. I'm studying environmental science at San Diego State University.
And I'm Jake, studying in environmental engineering at Drexel University.
So for our outline today, we will be going over our golden circle, the problem and solution, key resources and activity, sustainable development goals, types of intervention, costs, partners, segments and stakeholders, value, and lastly, a conclusion summary. Starting off with our golden circle, our why. Native ecosystems play a vital role in carbon sequestration. Understanding their CO2 storage potential can support climate mitigation, guide conservation, and improve land management strategies. How? Using eddy covariance research techniques to study the CO2 flux between native ecosystems and the atmosphere. This provides continuous data on net ecosystem carbon flux, allowing us to assess the real-time carbon sequestration capacity of the site under natural conditions. And lastly, what? CO2 sequestration abilities of native ecosystems to potentially be a major solution to help combat anthropogenic-caused climate change. Next is our problem and our solution. The problem our team is trying to solve is the climate crisis caused by anthropogenic activity. This activity is creating excess CO2 in the atmosphere. Native ecosystems have shown great promise as effective carbon sinks. However, there is a lack of data and measurements in the field that has left room for further research. So, our solution is to utilize eddy covariance towers to measure and collect atmospheric carbon flux to study and understand how effective native ecosystems are at carbon sequestration. This research could change the way that the climate crisis is tackled and provide a doable solution for carbon sequestration. Using native ecosystems could be an answer to our global problem of climate change. So here is a short video providing a visual aid to explain eddy covariance towers. The tower will measure carbon gas and water vapor flux in the atmosphere with the LoggerNet and EddyPro data boxes attached to the tower to collect and receive data onto data cards that will be changed biweekly and retrieved biweekly. The data will provide real-time collection, which then can be graphed in software. And here's just a further visual of that. Okay, so I am actually currently conducting this research with a climate science lab at San Diego State University to study the CO2 sequestration ability of native ecosystems. These are my current eddy covariance towers set up at 3 different sites in San Diego, California. The inland Chaparral site is located in Escondido, San Diego, capturing data. The middle coastal tower is located at Scripps Pier in La Jolla, California. And the last tower is a mobile boat tower that we drive around the San Diego Bay bi-weekly to collect data. Ecological systems, such as the ocean, play a vital role in Earth's climate regulation and account for approximately 25 to 30% of anthropogenic CO2 emission uptake. Coastal ocean regions with seagrass take up significant amounts of carbon within their root and sediment systems, classifying these coastal areas as blue carbon reservoirs. Local terrestrial ecosystems in Southern California, Chaparral is this specific biome, also have shown to be significant contributors to climate regulation, with evidence indicating increased carbon uptake to the soil through vegetation root systems. Vegetation structure in the Chaparral is dependent on seasonal variation in the ecological system, and the Chaparral is in fact considered an evergreen ecosystem as it retains a variable amount of green leaves year-round. So key resources and activities. Key resources in our study will include experienced researchers as well as lab techs to collect, process, analyze, review, and publish the data collected. We will need federal or private grants as well as access to data sites and processing software. LoggerNet is used to convert the raw binary data into ASCII data, which can then be ran in the EddyPro software to provide a graphable carbon flux data. The tower sites will need routine maintenance and data cards to be collected and switched approximately every 2 weeks. Once enough data has been collected and processed to notice a conclusive trend, the findings will be written and published for peer review. And next, I will pass it on to Jada.
The Sustainable Development Goals. This project connects to multiple Sustainable Development Goals, each of which focuses on building a healthier, more sustainable future. First, it supports SDG 13, climate action, by capturing carbon dioxide through native plants and ecosystems, which helps slow global warming. Second, it aligns with SDG 15, life on land, because restoring and protecting native habitats boosts biodiversity, prevents land degradation, and strengthens the resilience of ecosystems so they can better adapt to future environmental changes. Finally, it relates to SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, since it promotes sustainable land use practices that balance human needs with environmental health. By focusing on native species, we're not just storing carbon, we're also restoring ecosystems, supporting wildlife, and creating long-term environmental benefits for both nature and people. This project connects directly to both global and regional sustainability strategies. On a global level, it supports the Sustainable Development Goals, especially those focused on climate action, biodiversity, and sustainable land use. By capturing carbon dioxide through native ecosystems, it addresses climate change while also protecting natural habitats. Regionally, it aligns with San Diego's Climate Action Plan, which prioritizes carbon sequestration, habitat restoration, and the use of native species to enhance resilience. This means the work we're doing locally is not just benefiting our own communities, but also contributing to broader efforts worldwide. Types of intervention. This project is designed as a technological climate service that targets the removal of human-caused carbon dioxide emissions from the atmosphere. What makes it unique is that it combines technology with ecosystem science, focusing on how native ecosystems can be used as a powerful tool for carbon sequestration. Our main activity is conducting in-depth research and synthesizing a wide range of scientific literature on this topic. There's already a huge amount of data and studies available, but they're often scattered across different sources. We work to collect this information, evaluate its reliability, and condense it into a single, well-organized report. The service we provide is essentially a bridge between the scientific community and decision makers. We make complex climate research more accessible, usable, and actionable. This way, environmental agencies, conservation organizations, and policymakers can easily integrate the latest science into their strategies. Finally, the product is a published scientific report that serves as both a database and a planning tool. It's designed to guide real-world action, whether that's developing restoration projects, informing climate policies, or shaping funding priorities. By transforming raw data into clear, focused understandings, we're helping to close the gap between climate science and effective climate solutions. Now I'm going to pass it on to Bridget.
The cost of the research project is divided into two sections, the initial cost and the reoccurring cost. The initial cost consists of the eddy covariance flux towers costing about $50,000, as well as the LoggerNet, the device used to gather and store the data collected from the eddy covariance flux towers, costing about $1,000. The software used to analyze the data collected, Eddy Pro, is free to use and download. If these devices are not damaged and do not need to be replaced or repaired, the initial cost would be about $51,000. For the reoccurring costs, the transportation to the data collection site is estimated to be about $25 daily for gas, as well as the boat rental fee to reach the exact destination, costing about $200 per hour for about 3 hours a day. Transportation each day would cost roughly about $625. The wages for the researchers was estimated based on the California minimum wage, which is $16.90. Considering 3 hours on-site collecting data and about 3 hours off-site analyzing the data with about 2 to 3 researchers at a time, the cost comes in at around $929.90. These costs are most likely feasible from university and stakeholders' aids or funding and donations from conservation groups. The partners and stakeholders most heavily involved are NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, conservation non-governmental organizations, participating associated universities, and climate conservation groups. Those who would benefit from this research project are the surrounding marine environment, helping to maintain biodiversity and the ecosystem, as well as the overall environmental health and management of the surrounding area. Those who would be customers of this research project are supporting university research programs, NOAA, and conservation groups. With the help of these partners and stakeholders for cost and quality assurance, the research project is feasible. I will now be passing it on to Jake.
So our project delivers value on multiple fronts. First, it advances scientific understanding of how native ecosystems sequester carbon, better quantifying their role in climate solutions. By expanding native habitats, we increase their capacity as carbon sinks, and also engaging carbon credit markets not only provides a sustainable funding stream, but also assigns tangible value to conservation, making it financially competitive with other land uses. This funding supports ongoing research and restoration while also attracting partners committed to climate action. We measure impact through ecological metrics such as CO2 flux reductions, expanding native habitat area, and biodiversity gains. Additionally, indicators of success include the number of carbon credits generated, funding secured, and partnerships formed. Social impacts are credited by documenting community involvement in restoration, surveying local perceptions and showcasing co-benefits like education, recreation, and ecosystem services in public reports. Beyond climate impact, these efforts bring tangible ecological and social benefits to local communities. Finally, the data and outcomes guide and promote conservation strategies, ensuring long-term environmental resilience. In conclusion, by measuring CO2 flux in native ecosystems using eddy covariance techniques, we highlight their vital role in carbon sequestration and their potential as a powerful tool for climate change mitigation. These measurements provide concrete evidence of the carbon sink capacity of native ecosystems, offering data that can be leveraged to combat the climate crisis. This work directly supports the UN's Sustainability Development Goals, number 12, responsible consumption and production, 13, climate action, and 15, life on land. While this research focused on coastal environments, the methods and insights are equally applicable to terrestrial ecosystems. The primary constraints are the cost of labor, equipment, and securing adequate funding. Beyond these limitations, this approach can be implemented in diverse locations and native ecosystems worldwide. Ultimately, our motivation is to strengthen and expand native ecosystems as vital carbon sinks, delivering climate solutions, community benefits, and sustainable funding pathways. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much. Wonderful. A couple questions so far. Could you help explain both your research that you're already working on in this and how this differs from that research?
Yeah, so the research that I'm currently working on is specific to San Diego, and it looks at the sea kelp specifically off the coast, as well as the seagrass in the bay, and the native chaparral vegetation in San Diego. So the research kind of goes into specific organisms that are sequestering the carbon, while this is more of a broader study on how native ecosystems, not specifically in San Diego, it could be like the grass plains of the central United States or the old growth forests in the Pacific Northwest, and how those native ecosystems could be studied and utilized and kind of conserved or even built up upon to help mitigate the climate crisis and use that as a way of natural carbon sequestration.
Okay, cool. Another question on that. Can you elaborate on why the covariance towers cost so much? Are there certain parts that are very expensive, or is it other reasons that cause the cost to be so high? And are there other instruments that also could be used for similar stuff that's not quite as expensive?
I'm not familiar with other instruments, but the tower itself has a lot of working pieces and the data boxes, and they all need to be weatherproof, be able to withstand extreme heat or cold, wind, rain, and stay out there for years. The Scripps Pier Tower has been out there since 2005. So it can last a long time, and it collects some pretty complex data and has a few different parts that need to be working.
Yeah.
So.
Totally makes sense. Cool. Yeah, just curiosity of one of the viewers. Could you also go back to where you're describing your golden circle real quick? What type of organization, let's say you were to take this project and run with it, what type of organization would this be? Let's say the four of you are working together to bring this into reality. Would you be are you a nonprofit? Are you a public benefit corporation? Are you a research laboratory? See what I mean?
Yeah, I am not too familiar with those things, but I would assume that it would be a research lab that is kind of partnered with an NGO or a private firm to conduct this research and be kind of biologically or climate science based.
Okay. Could you go to your costs slide? Maybe it's the nickname, where you explain like where you get the funding. Maybe on costs. Which slide is that? My apologies.
One more? Oh, the partner one?
Yeah, it's probably partners.
Yeah.
Okay. So are these like, is the NOAA, do they give out like grants to projects like this?
Yeah, so my lab that I'm working with at State actually has a grant from NOAA, and I am actually planning to apply for a grant for a master's program with NOAA in conjunction with San Diego State.
Cool, awesome, super cool. Last question, so far at least. From the information that you've learned during the creation of this project, how likely do you think it is to it like being feasible and successful? And like, what are the greatest barriers to it being like feasible or successful, do you think? Like, yeah.
I think it's very feasible, very successful. It's already been in practice for the studying, at least with my lab, has been in practice for the past. I think the lab has been working on it for probably 30, 40 years. They were kind of one of the pioneers with it, specifically at Ecovariance. But I think that the study of native ecosystems and the enhancement of native ecosystems could be really beneficial. It's just kind of getting the government and public on board to set aside more land and conservation to conserve and build up and protect these native habitats that are going to be our carbon sinks for our anthropogenic CO2 emissions.
Cool. Yeah. Great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? No? Okay. Well, good job. Begin whenever you're ready.
Okay. Are you guys good? Okay. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about methods for safe and sustainable heating for rural Montana communities through GeoExtension LLC, which is a privately owned for-profit clean energy provider. So now we can go ahead and meet the team really quickly. I'm Kenna Cummings. I'm studying geology at Syracuse University.
I'm Ann Ehrlich. I'm studying geography at the Pennsylvania State University.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Hong. I'm studying mechanical engineering at Columbia University.
Hi, I'm Manal Mohib, and I'm studying economics at Florida State University.
Hi, I'm Angela Navarro, and I already studied. I'm environmental engineer from Peru. Okay. So the agenda that we have today, we are going to start with the overview, then the business process, the analysis, the financing, and the conclusion that we are going to consider the sustainability complex and the feasibility.
Our company is interested in implementing geothermal climate control in vulnerable homes in Montana by repurposing abandoned mines. For context, Montana has a very dispersed society, and there are several low-income and rural households that cannot afford heating with the current non-renewable energy systems that are in place. So typically they will opt for makeshift heating systems that threaten their health and safety, such as leaving the oven door open, which exposes families to carbon monoxide poisoning and fire hazards. Our group is motivated by the desire to connect these low-income and rural households to more efficient solutions for heating their homes. And since there are several abandoned coal mines in Montana, we also want to protect the people from these mines. We'll do this by analyzing rural locations for significant geothermal potential, a high energy burden, and their proximity to abandoned mine lands. We'll remediate these mines to pump geothermal brine, and then we will build systems of pipes to carry water heated by geothermal brine to homes in these locations.
In order to implement this project somewhere, we identified criteria that would be suitable for geothermal energy. So we wanted to model after Iceland's decentralized energy system and focused on Montana, which has a similar population to Iceland and a similar geothermal activity. We wanted to locate significant geothermal activity that overlaps with areas of low income, and we were brought to Roosevelt County, which is in great need of more affordable energy. It has 10,000 people and a median income of $53,000 a year. 30% of its population is experiencing poverty, and half of its population is unemployed. This means there is likely a greater energy burden, meaning a larger percent of their annual income is being spent on heating their homes in this very cold climate. $2,000 are spent yearly per household on energy in Montana, which is a large portion of their income. Roosevelt has 4,000 homes and 140 abandoned coal mines that are ready to be refurbished, meaning there is a market for this process in this state and in this community. And we also took into account that there are no federally protected lands or reservations within our study area that would create additional complications in implementing this process.
I got the mic this time. So in order to achieve all of our goals, we came up with a sort of modified geothermal system utilizing the geothermal brines from the mine that will then enter a centralized heat exchanger and heat fresh water that can then be pumped through large pipes like this and enter individual homes. So this is just an example for one home. There will be multiple branching off from this main section here. And at each individual building, there will be a decentralized heat pump to minimize the centralized cost and only pump the water that the households really need, which will lower energy costs for the individual, which is our big goal. So in order to implement a system like this, we're going to need a lot of technical resources, such as pumps, pipes, and potential drilling equipment if the mines are not deep enough or if the brines are not hot enough, and also monitoring equipment for post-installation. In order to pay for this, we have a number of financial resources coming from federal and state programs, such as the Department of Energy, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, right here, and then the Department of Environmental Quality and the Office of Surface Mine Reclamation and Enforcement. So through all of those, we'll be getting the initial startup cost paid for.
To resume our key activities, we have the program and the program. So in resume, we are going to start with the search of abandoned mines, the geothermal potential, and the household income in Roosevelt County, as I mentioned. Then we are going to meet. We are going to have meetings with the local governments in Montana. Then we are going to adapt this geothermal system design, and also we are going to look for the cost structure and the permissions for doing that. We are going to prepare proposals, look for financial resources, and after those activities, we are going to see the installation of the geothermal infrastructure. Maybe if it's needed, we are the drill And I think something that is more important is the piping. Then we are going to do the training and the evaluation. And some of the on-program activities could be the weather conditions, maybe it's going to snow, or could be the miscommunication with the community, or maybe the opposition, or could be the slow approvals.
Our key partners would be those who can give us permission to use land to install our piping. We also want to work with environmental planning consultants to help us comply with national and state level policy. We also don't want the community to think we are taking advantage of them for profit, so we'd like to partner with community outreach consultants and environmental justice groups to help us raise awareness on the benefits of geothermal energy and also the health risks associated with their improvised heating systems and the abandoned coal mines. Additionally, we believe we can learn a lot from established organizations, so we'd like to work with clean energy startups, research institutions, and local energy providers to learn more about, geothermal technology and Montana's policies and current energy infrastructure. Our stakeholders are the households that we are providing for, the people that own the land we would like to use, as well as federal and state agencies that are giving us grants and giving us permission to use land. Our beneficiary and customer are both the households we are serving.
So our value proposition has three main parts, with the main one being the energy burden analysis that we mentioned earlier, where we estimate the improvements in energy burden based on household income and electricity, energy, all that bills per year. And then for sustainability outreach, we're measuring that by how we include a range of underserved communities into the sustainable energy initiatives. And then finally, we're hoping to repurpose land by finding use for dangerous and currently economically unproductive abandoned mine land.
Our work will be supporting 4 different sustainable development goals. Success will be achieved when there is good health and well-being among the citizens of Roosevelt County. This would be from reduced toxins, since there will be no more need for those dangerous alternative heating sources, and geothermal brine poisoned with ore refinement chemicals will no longer be an issue by refurbishing those abandoned mines. Clean energy will have been expanded by utilizing the unique natural resources in this rural area and modernizing the energy infrastructure. Industry innovation and infrastructure will be uplifted by modernizing the energy infrastructure in this area, allowing our county to participate in a newer, more modernized energy system as opposed to the obsolete coal mining industry. Lastly, we will reduce inequalities in energy access by limiting energy burden in these communities by providing cheaper heating options and utilizing a decentralized system that can be better catered to the individual needs of these local areas.
Usually the most expensive part of developing a new energy system, such as geothermal energy, is the drilling operations in order to get the geothermal energy, out of the ground and into our system and in through the pipes. But because we're utilizing abandoned coal mines, that takes away a lot of the drilling costs. So the next expensive part of our operation would then be the piping. So those piping costs are estimated to be around $7.74 million. And the second part of this is the large centralized heat exchanger, which runs costs between $100,000 to a couple of $1 million. It depends on the receptivity and the expansion of our project. Again, grants are vital to this operation because producing a new energy system is very expensive. So, with this, our hope is that additional houses and counties can be included into our network. So for the revenue, the monthly bill for a household utilizing geothermal energy is around $100 to $200, and that is cheaper for the consumer compared to natural gas, propane, oil, and electric. So they're going to like paying less for their energy. And assuming that our focus is on Roosevelt County and Montana, they have around 4,000 households. So we estimate our revenue for Q1 to be around $1,200,000 to $2,400,000.
The basis of our business model is to reduce the energy costs for these families within our study area, but alongside that, we will be generating revenue through these energy bills, allowing us to increase capital for expansion. So we will improve the surrounding infrastructure and revitalize these communities with the surplus that we're generating, and then identify additional communities experiencing similarly high geothermal activity and low household incomes. Once this is consistently utilized in this format, we can implement it into Sanders County, also in Montana, which will be just as successful.
So over time, we hope to achieve economies of scale where when our output increases, our costs are expected to decrease. This is usually when we're able to garner a steady profit. We expect our average fixed costs to be relatively smaller than they were in the beginning with our initial costs. So we expect to hit those economies of scale eventually. And then with that revenue and having a steady stream of income, we really hope to expand our pipe networks and provide more geothermal energy to more individuals. And there's a higher supply than there is demand in Roosevelt, Montana, and Montana in general, as Montana supplies 2,000 gallons of hot water per minute, and the households actually demand only around 40 to 75 gallons of water daily. So improving current infrastructure and reducing the initial cost for implementation is one of our main goals.
Also, if you're interested in any more of the details, we've attached this here.
Okay, so we are providing affordable and sustainable heating to households. Then we are lowering the energy costs to these rural communities and helping towns to go more sustainable. So we are implementing the sustainable system at a county, but so this can be replicable in similar geothermal and socioeconomic environments.
Looking at feasibility, there is sufficient demand in Roosevelt County, given that there are 4,000 households that could benefit from more affordable heating from geothermal technology. Additionally, the winter months, the temperature can reach below freezing in Montana, so there will always be a need for a reliable heating system. However, a potential obstacle is pushback from the community if they do not believe that their health and safety is currently threatened, or they do not understand the financial and health benefits of geothermal energy.
In terms of the geothermal system itself, it's very feasible to assume that it would work here because of the heightened geothermal gradient in the area, as well as the huge number of abandoned coal mines, 140 in Roosevelt County alone. But the only barrier to the system at large would be land use permits for constructing the size of a piping network that we would need to reach such a spread out community. But assuming that works out, the geothermal itself, there's no real barriers. And then in terms of financial abilities, we're relying pretty heavily on federal and state organizations and the grants that they could give us. And if we are unable to get that money, it could delay or halt progress entirely. So, yeah.
Thank you all for your support and encouragement.
Really good. Like 15 minutes and 3 seconds. Like right on the dot.
Oh, yeah.
Good job. Yeah. Some questions? Starting out, just one. It seems like this is like a really good idea, and that like the resources are there and the need is there as well. Is there anybody currently like in these areas of Montana that are trying to do this? Do you know, or who have like tried to do this in the past?
Not that we've heard about, nothing in Montana. We've seen some things in Colorado, and in terms of utilizing the abandoned coal mines, that's been done in the United Kingdom and China, but never in the United States. So, yeah.
And I apologize if you already covered this in your presentation, but why do you think people haven't tried this yet here?
Probably the high upfront cost. It's kind of expensive to install any sort of geothermal system, but especially if you're already struggling to pay for heating and cooling, you're not going to go for like the most expensive upfront option unless it's subsidized by a program like ours. And also the coal mine thing is pretty experimental. It's only been done a couple of times for like land use reasons mostly.
Cool. Another question, how I want to preface with a great presentation from the viewer.
Thank you.
How deep are the abandoned mines in this area, and what temperature is the water in these mines?
It depends on which mine we end up working with because, like I said, there were quite a few in the area. But the ones that we're looking at are up to 1 kilometer deep because those are similar to the ones that have already been done in the UK and in China, so there's already sort of a basis for that. And the water does not need to get that hot because we're doing heating and cooling, so we're going to have 2 separate pipes, one that goes a little bit deeper to get the level of heat that we need. Depending on how large of a system we're running with, it needs to be hotter if it's going to go further and, you know, stuff like that. And then cooling will just be, if you've ever been inside a cave, it's always kind of the same temperature down there, so it doesn't need to be that deep, so just, you know, a few hundred feet for the cooling. So, yeah, do you want to add something?
Yeah, there is data publicly available on the size of the mines, how long they've been abandoned, their productivity. But in terms of the actual depth of them, that is publicly available, and it was on one of the previous maps, but adding that size element is a little bit visually complicated when you have a lot of other layers going on, but it's there.
Yeah, awesome. It was super thorough, like really good.
Thanks.
Just need a construction company. And cool. Yeah, that's all. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna move the laptop like over here.
I know.
So that way, like 2 people can be on this side and 2 people can this side. Yeah.
I kept thinking I was going to unplug it.
Yeah. But yeah, y'all are great. Awesome.
Is it slideshow?
If 2 of you can be on one side, just because, and then when those that are on y'all's side do start speaking, if you just like step over to, yeah, so like perfect, just so that we can see you on the screen. That'd be great. Thanks.
Right.
Cool. All right, you can start whenever.
All right, so hello, we are Seaweed Solutions. So my name is Alex Guerra. I'm currently a senior in San Diego State University studying environmental engineering.
Hi guys, my name is Calvindra. You guys would call me Cal. I'm studying electrical and computer engineering with a minor in sustainable energy systems at Cornell University.
Hello, my name is Jalexis Jules. I study social science at the University of South Florida.
Hi, my name is Nukanya Sishi. I'm currently doing my master's in digital learning at the University of Helmstedt.
Hello, my name is Daniel Vasquez. I'm no longer a student, but when I was a student, I studied theater at the Ramapo College of New Jersey.
So the problem here is that due to climate change and excess nutrients in the water, a type of seaweed called sargassum has had a large overgrowth, and this takes place in the Caribbean, the southern United States. And so basically, this large overgrowth, it like blocks a lot of sunlight from the plants and animals below. It also takes up a lot of dissolved oxygen in the water, which does harm plants and animals. And then when the sargassum gets on the beach, it decomposes, and then that can cause negative health impacts to people, specifically respiratory and prolonged like neurological impacts. And then it also causes the beaches to lose physical appeal, and this specifically impacts Caribbean cities that rely on tourism.
So the how, in terms of how we are going to go about solving this problem, is we are going to, one, work with volunteers to physically remove the sargassum from beaches and the ocean itself. The idea after that is to use the actual sargassum itself to turn it into sustainable and eco-friendly notebooks. And lastly, amongst all of this project, we are also attempting to bring awareness to the public, schools, and governments in general about the seriousness of this problem.
So we decided to start our pilot project in Miami just because that area is kind of more known for working with sargassum and already has kind of a system in play already implemented. So it would be more easier for us to start up in some place where it already has kind of a stable foundation. And our organization will kind of act as a middleman with our stakeholders, kind of helping give the sargassum to the paper making companies, as well as distributing it to the schools that we want to try to donate it to.
So in terms of schedule and how we're going to be working with this presentation, so first off, we'll be starting about who are we, what we're going to do, how our organization is going to look like, then we'll get into the actual project, also talk about longevity and how it'll look like a couple years down the line, and then we'll end with all the cost projections and the financial aspects of the organization.
So, as we said, we're Seaweed Solutions. We're a non-profit organization that is actually looking to be a facilitator in a collective impact initiative, which means that we're looking at partnering with like-minded businesses in order to actually work in the removal and the reuse of sargassum in the Miami coastline. So we're doing that in order to build awareness, as we had previously said, and hopefully bring about sustainable production of notebooks that can be donated to our low-income schools.
So to go into a little bit more detail about how exactly our organization is going to tackle this issue, first we got to get that dough. There is a large upfront cost, so we will be working with local and state governments, especially the Parks and Recs departments of Miami. We will be working with national parks, the EPA, UNESCO, and even Five Star Notebook has donated money to organizations that have done similar processes like these to help lower income communities, as well as create sustainable alternatives to paper. We are going to be working with to create the paper. We're going to be working with a local manufacturing company known as Atlas Paper Mill. They are also located in Miami. Again, just trying to keep everything local and bring wealth and awareness to the local community. As far as education partners, we need research to be able to effectively locate and purge the seaweed from the local beaches and ocean. So we'll be working with the University of Southern Florida, specifically the College of Marine Science, where they've recently actually upgraded their sargassum watch system. So instead of being using a network of satellites, they are able to, down to the specific beach, predict where sargassum will bloom and eventually touch land. On top of that, we'll also be working with the local governments and as well as schools to find out specifically which households would benefit most from these donations of the final, made product notebooks from sargassum. And then finally, obviously, we're going to be picking up the sargassum. So we're going to be working directly with volunteers such as the Ocean Cleanup Project, local and also school volunteers to be able to physically get this project underway.
All right, so our stakeholders. As previously mentioned, we are going to contribute with Atlas Paper Mill, work together with them to distribute the notebooks. The schools that we're going to focus on are David Lawrence Jr. K-8 Center and Alonso and Tracy Morning High School. Additionally, we're going to work alongside resorts, public beaches, and restaurants to help them clean up their area in order to increase tourism as well. And of course, we're going to be partnering up with the government because we will need their permission in order to pick up the sargassum in the designated areas, as well to see if we are following procedure and to see if we're following procedure on how we're doing it correctly, or make sure we're doing it correctly, and to make sure we're not affecting any ecology or hurting any endangered species. As well, we're going to be consulting with experts. We're going to be collaborating with the USF College of Marine Science, FIU, and UCSD, which have a phenomenal background on these type of researches. So our resources, of course, we're going to need the seaweed, the sargassum, and we're going to start by the east coast of Florida and the Key Islands. The volunteers, we're going to do 20 volunteers per day and having some sort of schedule. That way nobody's overly saturated. And this can be anyone from university students to K through 12 schools. The equipment we're going to need is going to be trucks, tools such as shovels, buckets and grabbers, as well as consumables such as gloves and bags. The transportation, we're going to be mainly focused on trucks, and of course we're going to need drivers for that. And the distribution of the final product is going to be the K through 12 schools of low income. Specifically for this pilot, we're going to be focused on David Lawrence K through 8 Center and Tracy Moying High School. And of course, our manufacturing company is going to be the Alice Paper Mill, which is going to help us create the paper, the notebooks, and in order to distribute the notebooks.
So in order to get volunteers, we're going to use some social media platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, and then we'll also schedule organized events in university campuses, specifically FIU, which is one that's super close by, and then we'll also have organized events at like conventions, like little stands and things, and then public advertisements such as flyers, which we can place on those university campuses.
So in terms of the benefits, specifically who and what the benefits are. So in terms of who, obviously we have the students. Those are not only the ones that are taking the notebooks or that we're donating the notebooks to, but also just for educational uses. For example, volunteers. A lot of students can volunteer at our program and understand marine life around them, as well as the high tourism communities, because again, a lot of these countries, a lot in the Caribbean Sea, rely on the tourism, so we'll be helping them out with that. The ecosystem as well, because right now the fish are literally suffocating with the lack of oxygen, so helping out the ecosystem will be good for that. The government as well wants to get rid of all the sargassum because it does, again, affect their economy. Universities can use this as a research opportunity as well, just to understand more about the sargassum, its chemical composition, what else can it be used for. And then again, the manufacturing companies, not only are they diversifying their product line, making profit, but also get sustainability recognition. In terms for what the benefits are, again, environmental protection through the sustainable practices, collecting the algae, manufacturing the sustainable notebooks, and then again, we are giving back to the community, whether it be the educational opportunities, community building, and the economic growth and possible employment. So again, in terms of metrics of success, we can measure the sargassum in the sea itself, both before we start the organization and after we've collected all of the sargassum we did. Again, we'll measure how much we've collected so we understand how much of an impact we're having. And then we can also measure the budget of the schools and how they're doing financially, because if their test scores are increasing due to the increased use of school supplies and notebooks, then they'll have an increase in budgeting as well. And then for our organization itself, we can have like company growth charts, whether it be finances, employment, or anything else.
So environmental and ethical considerations, mainly it's just transportation, entering the beaches and sand, causing disturbances, and then possibly picking up some animal species that are already in the sargassum that's on the beach, which could potentially harm them and destroy the ecosystem around us.
So in terms of in terms of these sustainable development goals, we have quality education because of the notebooks, but also the educational opportunity we're providing for students, for volunteers. We have the decent work and economic growth with the tourism, and then for sustainable communities, again, we are a sustainable company, but we're also providing sustainable notebooks for the local schools themselves.
And in terms of the ecosystem, obviously we'll be looking at responsible consumption and production, because by using sargassum, we're reducing the amount of trees that will actually be used for paper production. And then in terms of climate action, we're helping with the environmental impact of sargassum on our shores and also helping life below water.
So this is just our sustainability complex. It goes over how how we providing the notebooks. It helps the individuals, it helps the students specifically, then the household, they'll be learning through the notebooks, the community, which will require the notebooks to go through their education. The city will have economic and educational growth. Region, as our project gains momentum, it will spread to other regions of the state. And then statewide, it'll have an impact to the state of Florida. And then hopefully Florida public schools can have some involvement in environmental sustainability. And then globally, there can be like global participation and conventions.
So in terms of finances and who actually pays for all this stuff, so ACO Brands, the parent company of 5-Star Notebooks, they have donated millions in dollars before, both monetary and in a kind donations, so not monetary, just like equipment and stuff like that. NOAA, again, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association, also has grants, specifically the Bay Watershed Education and Training Program, that gives money to organizations that teach students about the marine life around them, so it is a pretty good opportunity.
So just looking at our revenue, graphically, most of the income will be used is coming from grants, as Cal has said. And then in addition to that, we'll be selling the sargassum to the organization that's helping us actually process the paper. So that'll form about 20% of how much we need. And then we have activator events, which will help generate obviously additional income as well as donations. So our target currently is $80,000 US. And yeah, that's it.
So just to break down, give a basic breakdown of those $80,000 that we need to get this project off the ground. We're relying primarily on volunteers. So we're relying on hardworking, kind-hearted people who have the same ideas and passions as we do. Transportation, we are going to be transporting literal metric tons, possibly weekly. And for that, we are going to be renting a 26-foot stake bed truck. We ourselves are going to be driving them as well. We are going to be physically and involved into this company's actions as well. Catering, got to feed the volunteers. We'll be partnering with local companies there in Miami, such as El Mio, right up there. Anywhere from $200 to $400 a day. If you haven't had Cuban sandwiches, highly recommend. Equipment, just like mentioned before, shovels, rakes, gloves, that sort of thing, very necessary to protect our volunteers as well. Estimated about $1,500 per 20 people. So this can obviously grow as more and more people become aware, but that is our current startup. The notebooks themselves, we found out that the notebooks cost about $1 to $3 per notebook, and 1 metric ton alone can give us about 500 notebooks. So each metric ton would cost anywhere between $500 and $1,500, depending on several different qualities of the notebook and process. And in general, we need to eat. So we depend on volunteers for most of the physical labor, but the 5 members here are going to be needing, to be foot on the table. So the salaries are in accordance with Florida's minimum wage, which is $14 per hour. And for this 3-month time frame that we have is going to be $2,600 per person.
Okay. We are non-profit, but looking at the future, we're hoping that for those who do partner with us, that we are able to endorse them by actually having a badge that is developed to show that they are part of our sustainability efforts. And then whatever funds we do make, we'll be putting towards obviously research in the area of sargassum to see how to actually use it for other production items, and then we'll expand by looking at what else can we actually produce from sargassum. Apart from paper, can we make shoes, can we make soap, and then from that we can start purchasing our own assets. So instead of actually renting a truck, we would actually own a truck, and then finally see if we can expand into other alien plants that we can turn into other sustainable products.
This is just an outline of our business model.
So is this actually feasible? Yes, it is. And the reasons for that being is because, again, a majority of the project is already taken care of, whether it be like volunteers and stuff like financing, as well as the use of sargassum and the motivation. A lot of people want to get the sargassum off of their beaches. In terms of challenges that we may face, we may be facing, again, financial challenges, whether like we don't actually get the grants or we get a reduced amount from the grants, as well as relationships with the manufacturers. For example, if the Atlas Paper Mills doesn't want to work with us, we're going to have to find another company. So all of those things do affect the feasibility of it.
And in conclusion, the Seaweed Solutions Project is a service that not only helps to clean up public community beaches, but it's a mission to help the environment, the local communities, and improve public schools by providing a sustainable and eco-friendly notebook alternative for those who need it. We're excited. Any questions?
Yeah, super cool idea, guys. Super thorough. Got a couple questions. So great idea and good presentation. You are making a notebook. Have you thought about other things that can be made from the seaweed?
Yeah.
So there is research going on about what sargassum could be used for. We don't know the chemical composition, but they are looking at ways to turn it into shoes as well as soaps. But we figured notebooks would be the easiest way to give back to the community and also help with the education aspect for the SDG.
Cool. On that note, like your costs, like I understand that you're paying yourselves like minimum wage. Is minimum wage in Florida a living wage?
Maybe. Depending on how you budget.
In Miami?
Okay.
It's not a livable wage, but as Dan did mention, this will be a 3-month project just due to it's hotter in the summer months. So because of this is when like the growth of the sargassum is at its peak. So this would only be like a temporary job yearly, but it wouldn't be like for our whole, like it's only a 3-month project. So it would only be active during those 3 months. So we would have to suffer for 3 months of the year.
It's a pilot. It's like it's a pilot, so it's kind of gonna be kind of like a test run. So obviously we're not gonna be really putting all our eggs in that one basket in terms of like being able to survive. It's just like kind of a side thing we're gonna be trying to focus on and see if it like launches up.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, so you're thinking like this first iteration
Exactly.
is what you're looking at, and for that first iteration, most important thing to you is seeing, hey, how much can we clean up for as little money as possible?
Exactly. And then trying to adhere to our like target goals of notebooks in that time frame in order to give it to schools.
Cool. We had a question.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there's like a current market for the sale of sargassum, and if there are any companies you know that are like purchasing or looking to purchase.
Yeah, so I know in Mexico, they already started doing like notebooks just to sell, not really to partner with anyone. Forgot the name though, so I might have to do some research on my part. But yeah, they already started kind of like making notebooks out of it, out of the material, and also I believe soaps as well. And then in Florida, I think it's called the Sargassum Project, where they are taking sargassum, but they're just making paper out of it. So yeah.
There is one company that's called Algae Organics, and I believe they're based in the Caribbean. But this company specifically, they make like pulp for paper, and then they also make like fiber for clothes, and then they also make like packing paper as well. So that is one that there is a market for it, but that's what that company makes. They kind of make like the not like the starting of it. They're not, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Is there like, can you go back to the surplus slide? Or profits, I guess it would be. So, like, have you thought about, like, in terms of scaling up, since of course there's already people like selling just these notebooks. I understand that like donating to people who need them is super important, but it seems like there's not really a shortage of sargassum. So have you thought about also like selling these products? Not, having some of them donate, of course, like try to donate, but like it seems to me like you could massively scale up this and be able to pay yourself good, decent wages if you also like, salt the things and because if you sell it and saying like, also donating profits to give X amount of notebooks and cleaning X amount of like a certain amount of space of beach. I think that would like sell really good. Have you thought about that?
So in terms of scalability, we understand there is potential in terms of scale of production. It's just that right now, because we don't have that much in terms of money, so we're hoping to leverage off the infrastructure of our partners for now. But looking in the future, would be more than welcome to actually start doing our own production.
Cool. Yeah. That's great. Awesome. I don't think I have any, unless there's any more questions from the group, from the audience? No? Hey. Good job. Thank you. Got it.
Nice. All right, I'll have it
Okay. What's up, guys? We are excited to present to you our disaster resilient water purification. Oh, let me hit slideshow actually. Our disaster resilient water purification model in Puerto Rico. That is where we are having our case study. Okay, so let's get started. Just before we introduce to you anything, we want to run over the table of contents. We're going to tell you a little bit about who we are, what our problem is, what our solution to the problem is, the sustainability behind the initiative, some project logistics, costs, funding, all that, and then we'll go over our conclusions. Okay, I'm Warren. I'm a sustainable development major at Columbia University.
I'm Mohammed. I'm a chemical engineering student at the University of Melbourne.
I'm Daniela. I'm an architecture student at Carnegie Mellon.
I'm Sophia. I study environmental science at San Diego State.
I'm Katie. I study electrical engineering at Santa Clara University. So for our capstone, we decided to focus on Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is especially susceptible to hurricanes that cause a lot of damage. In 2017, Hurricane Irma, followed immediately by Hurricane Maria, devastated the island and left millions without power, some for as long as 11 months. A year later, surveys revealed that 50% of Puerto Ricans reported their household could not get enough clean water to drink. And it's estimated that over 3,000 people were killed in these hurricanes, most of them not by the storm. In fact, only 64 people were killed during the actual course of the storm, but many were killed by waterborne diseases or dehydration or other side effects of the collapse of the infrastructure. Yes. A lot of the water filtration systems in Puerto Rico do rely on electricity, and these storms just revealed problems with the infrastructure there that made it harder to get back online. So a lot of people were left for a long time without clean water or electricity.
So this is our golden circle, the why, how, and what of our project. As Katie just discussed, so many households in Puerto Rico lost access to clean water during disaster humanitarian crises such as those hurricanes. How we want to tackle this problem is by creating a community-based water purification model to aid following these natural disasters. And what this is going to look like is by employing 2 response products that can produce large amounts of clean water daily to support these households.
So, to reiterate, our mission is to ultimately provide sustainable water purification tools, 2 of which we will go over, to communities with disrupted access to clean water. So again, we're zooming in on Puerto Rico, but eventually we hope to scale up to communities across the globe. In doing so, in putting our products out there, we hope to utilize the natural environment to produce disaster-resilient solutions. We hope to popularize sustainable water filtration methods, and we hope to introduce an economic opportunity to local communities in Puerto Rico, in the mountainous regions.
All right, so For an immediate response post-disaster, we propose the use of new anti-fouling hydrogels that deliver drinkable water. So the way that it works is that you basically put the hydrogel in contaminated water, and the hydrogel absorbs water into its layers, at the same time repelling bacteria, oils, and different chemical contaminants. After that, to release the water into drinking water, you put it under direct sunlight, and so putting it under direct sunlight will release the water. And specifically, the materials that are used are isopropyl polyacrylamide, which provides the water absorption feature, and polydopamine, which provides the filtration or repellent feature there. So as we said, this hydrogel is being developed by Princeton University, and it filters heavy metals, oils, microplastics, and bacteria. It's pretty impressive because it can produce 26 kilograms of water per meter squared. And it releases waters at temperatures above 33 degrees Celsius through direct sunlight. And 70% of the water can be released in about 10 minutes. So it provides a very fast solution, a very fast water provision for households. And this is like a photo of it. So it's literally a sheet. Like it's a 1 centimeter or 10 centimeter thick sheet. And this is the structure inside. So it resembles a loofah-like structure, which actually helps in water absorption and retention. And this is pretty good, a pretty good solution to use in Puerto Rico because there is a lot of sunlight throughout the year. And so this can be kind of utilized at any time of the year, really. For a medium-term response, we are proposing the use of solar-powered ultrafiltration water units. And this is a flowchart that kind of explains how the ultrafiltration unit works. So you get the water, and it passes through a sediment filter, a pre-carbon filter, a post-carbon filter, and power from the solar panels is used to operate the reverse osmosis pump, which goes through the ultrafiltration unit, a mineral cartridge, and a UV filter, and produces drinkable water at the end. So this can run for 12 hours continuously using sunlight. The system can use 12 or 24 volts. And the caveat here is that it does require some time to charge the batteries, to make sure that the pumps are operating continuously, and for the storage units to be filled. But at the end, it can produce between 500 and 800 liters per hour. And we're also proposing the use of specialists that are experts in, installing, maintaining, and helping people use these units. And here's just a picture of the unit that could be used. Yeah, so this is more of a medium-term response.
So our Community Ambassadors Program will train and employ ambassadors to educate and support disaster vulnerable communities on the use of these hydrogels, while also promoting the importance of water safety and being prepared for this unexpected disasters to occur. Their role involves distributing the hydrogels, introducing and training residents on using and installing the hydrogels themselves. The product will come with how-to instruction manuals, but also videos for any further guidance. They also will assist with using hydrogels and disposing of them, and maintaining and operating ultrafiltration units during time of need.
So for our sustainability complex, our solution is able to help people on all levels of the sustainability complex. So on the household level, households will be equipped with the hydrogels to provide clean water access for families and individuals within a few days of the disaster. On the community level, towns and villages are equipped with solar ultrafiltration devices capable of supplying thousands of liters of potable water daily. On the national level, Access to potable drinking water will decrease the rate of waterborne illness and dehydration after a disaster, buying time for Puerto Rico to rebuild its infrastructure. On the global level, lack of access to potable water is an issue all over the world. Expanding outside of Puerto Rico, our products could be adopted in communities facing water purification challenges around the world, especially as disasters like hurricanes become more common with climate change. So for our sustainable development goals, we cover quite a few of them, but these are the ones that we decided to focus on. So number 6, clean water and sanitation. Our products improve access to potable water following a natural disaster, when many are vulnerable to waterborne diseases and dehydration. For number 8, our initiative aims to employ Puerto Ricans as system specialists, as well as provide stipends to local community members who volunteer to oversee the deployment and maintenance of the system. For number 12, our products utilize sustainable and eco-friendly production of potable water in order to address disrupted access.
In terms of costs, we've broken it down into two sort of categories. So you have the hydrogels and filtration units. So the actual hydrogel is very, very cheap to produce. Initial hydrogel costings are around 30 cents to $1 per meter squared. And if we take that and try to supply it to every single household in Puerto Rico, and there's around 1.4 million households in Puerto Rico, we're estimating around $2 million to supply them. This includes distribution, packaging, everything associated with actually getting the hydrogel to each home. The solar panels are approximately $900 per filtration unit, and each filtration unit is around $2,000. These are just figures we found online. So total cost for around, let's say, 200 units is $600,000, and so the total product cost will be $2.6 million. In terms of labor, we're proposing 10 full-time specialists at $40,000 a year. So this will come around $400,000 a year, and 400 ambassadors across the country, working for the community, helping the community during when disaster strikes. And we're proposing giving them stipends of around $2,000, so $800,000 in total. And so a total labor cost would come around $1.3 million. And so the total indicative cost is just a cool $3.9 million.
So as for funding, we have a couple more local but also more global grants and loans. We have the Emergency Community Water Assistant Grants, and these will help eligible communities prepare for or recover from an emergency that threatens the availability of drinking water. And depending on what type of water assistance is needed, the amount of grant can range between $150,000 to $1 million. We also have water and waste disposal loan grant programs. That one's more long-term and low-interest loans. We also have the Public Assistant Program, which is funded by FEMA, and that provides grants to nonprofits like us for communities to be able to respond quickly to recover from those major disasters. And the range for that is $100,000 to $1 million. And then we have the Hispanic Federation, and that is to help support recovery efforts led by nonprofit organizations as well. And their funding range is $25,000 to $35,000, as it's a more local fund.
Okay, so as you can tell, this is quite, let me repeat that. As you can tell, this is quite a costly project. We need some sort of revenue to keep this thing going. So our goal is ultimately, after we launch in Puerto Rico and work with governments and partnerships to try to have some income, we hope to expand to more communities and governments across the globe. Water purification challenges are not local. We have communities everywhere experiencing similar problems to Puerto Rico. We also hope to commercialize and optimize the hydrogels for sale to campers and travelers. This is really interesting technology. We think that campers and travelers alike can benefit from small, handy water purification tools that you can keep in your toolbox, supply kit. As for reinvestment, any surplus or profits that we get or make will be designated to further investment in hydrogel research and development. Again, this is all pretty new technology. We're still trying to find ways to develop it. So we'll invest in that in order to find ways to make them longer lasting and dispose of them more sustainably.
Okay, so for feasibility, we do believe our project to be feasible, but there's a couple challenges that would need to be addressed. As Warren just mentioned, the products are still in research and development. With the short-term response of the hydrogels, there are a couple issues such as disposal. We would need to figure out how to dispose of the hydrogels following their usage, as well as if they can be reused or not. These would be two major problems considering how many are going to be distributed with the millions of Puerto Ricans that are in need of clean water. Also, with cloudy days, there's a potential for the hydrogels to not work as they need to be in a temperature of at least 33 degrees Celsius just to get the water out of them. So making them more disaster resilient would be important. As for our medium-term response of the solar-powered units, there's some logistical problems, such as how far they would be from each household. If families would need to travel far, how would they do so? And if there would then be overcrowding at the units, as well as how they would be deployed. For our ambassador program hurdles, there may be further expertise that is required depending on issues that come up, as well as recruiting these ambassadors and then potential incapacitation, considering that there are major disasters happening here. Will the ambassadors and experts be available to work on the units? Then for the costs, there is some variation for the solar panels depending on the market and the durability of the panels that would be needed. And while we do believe we could obtain the grants that Daniela described, it's just a matter if we can actually get them or not. It's unknown.
So, this is just a brief overview of our business model. You can look at it in greater detail later or ask us questions about this. This is how we built our project. Let's wrap it up. Basically, our goal here was to try to produce sustainable disaster response products. We have our hydrogels and our ultrafiltration systems to provide clean water to communities facing compromised access to water supply. Again, we chose to look at Puerto Rico. This is a global issue. Obviously, expanding is one of our goals. We hope that the employment of our products will decrease the risk of waterborne diseases and dehydration. We hope to provide economic opportunities to rural communities through disaster resilience. And we also hope to encourage a general shift towards sustainable technology and meeting the SDGs. Here are our references, and we hope you enjoyed our presentation.
You go back to the awesome. Yeah, like I really appreciate that you were willing to like be bold and say like, yeah, we got a $4 million project, and you wanna tackle it. Yeah, I mean, you really did your research and looked at the problems. Like, hey, this is a big issue. This is what it costs. And like that's like, great, awesome. I got a couple questions, of course. So just to clarify, can you go back to the hydrogels? So, are they designed for individual family use, or are they implemented in like larger community scale systems? I know you sort of touched on this, but like, is this something that like they are like handed like a package and it says like open it up and it's like instructions and they can figure out how to do this, or do they need those ambassadors there to kind of like do this for them?
So these are designed for individual households, but they will be handed to people before disaster strikes, right? So just on, like, if we launch tomorrow, let's say, like this will be being like released like next week or something. So this will be a kit that every household has in their disaster emergency kit, just laying around at home with instructions that they can use, that teach them how to use it. But when disaster strikes, there will be ambassadors that can go around household to household in their communities and make sure that people can use them in the first few days of a disaster. So that was the idea there.
Still on hydrogels. I say that like engineered at Princeton, like that's like design side of things. In terms of like mass production, do you know where, or if they have like started mass production anywhere? And do you think they could be produced locally in Puerto Rico?
It has not started being mass produced yet. Like we said, it's still sort of in R&D. Like this article was like published, I think, late last year or something. So this is very, very fresh technology. So yeah, no mass producing there. With that, do you wanna? I mean, with that, we don't really know if it can be locally produced or not, because it's not there yet. It's not to the point where we can say we can just put it in a factory and it can make 100 of them a day yet. Yeah.
So if it's that new, where does that like 30 cents to $1 is it like per kilogram, like money?
Per meter squared.
Per meter squared. No, like the cost.
Yeah.
The cost side.
So that costing is based off very similar hydrogels from other research papers that kind of, they don't deliver the same water capacity because those other hydrogels have, this is getting really into it, but those other hydrogels have very hexagonal structures, so they don't have, it's not like this, it's like a beehive, right? So that doesn't let them produce as much water as this, which kind of, holds water in the little crevices and stuff like that.
This is a much more complicated
yeah. I wouldn't say complicated, it's just the structure of the actual chemicals or the polymer is very different from this and traditional hydrogels, which allows this to kind of hold a lot more water and release it a lot quicker. And so that costing is just based off those hydrogels, right?
Totally fine. Yeah. With something as new as this, I'm like super happy that you were able to find like the closest possible thing.
Yeah.
Like some napkin math.
But we expect it to be around that range.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. And of course, develop. Sorry, still on the gels. This is really cool stuff. But so of course, like engineered by Princeton. Did they do this for a specific climate like Puerto Rico, or like do you know if like they work? Okay, if you don't know this, but do you know if they work like they're optimized for certain climates, or like what's like the best conditions for these?
I don't think that was tested yet. So again, R&D still. This is what R&D is for. Yeah, I think this was just made in the laboratory. So it was not really tested for climate. So again, acknowledging that, for example, humidity might have an effect on the water release, acknowledging that maybe air purity, like any contaminant in air, might have an effect on the release and absorption of these chemicals. But the testing that they have done tested like the very real world water contaminants that could emerge during any crisis. So if you have heavy metals, if you have, different types of bacteria, if you have microplastics, those were tested as well. So these are things that are very, very relevant, and it passed all the tests with flying colors, and yeah.
So the hydrogels, one of kind of the limiting factors with them is that they do have to be, in order to release the water, in temperatures above 33 degrees Celsius. So warmer climates. But Puerto Rico is a much warmer climate, so it kind of satisfies that. But yeah, that is one limiting factor for these.
Awesome. Can you go back to the feasibility stuff a little bit later? Really appreciate that you mentioned this with definitely with like the end of life analysis, like that's gonna be a concern, but also like the cloudy days, especially if this is like all coming from how rough that how huge of an impact the hurricane was. I know like some hurricanes really big, and it'll still be like pretty cloudy days after. So like great that you acknowledge that if it's cloudy, that it may not work as well. But are those units that you use? Can you go back to the for the midterm response? Those units. So these units are installed ahead of time, correct? Or are they installed like after the storm is already hit?
They're
So one of the issues in the storms is that a lot of the water infrastructure is damaged. So it wouldn't be entirely set up before the disaster, which is why we're thinking that we would have the short-term response of the hydrogels while this is getting up and running. This is assuming that it would not be operable within hours of the storm. If that answers your question.
Yeah. I was just wondering to know if there was a way to like have those running before the storms and then have them like in a very like sturdy building, so that way, because I mean the issue with a lot of like the centralized water resources that gets affected by storms is if you have like one part of that like water resource network that gets like severely impacted, can shut down the entire system. But these, I mean, at least from how you described it, seems like it's a little unit somewhere and it's mostly self-contained. So if you could have it like running before, we anticipate hurricanes in the form, have those units run to get like some kind of reservoir of water. So that way, like, if the network does get knocked out, the people that live there, that live in the area could use that water until it gets sunny, and then you can use the gels. That's what I was just curious about.
Yeah.
But yeah, any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, that could work, but it's also like if we try to apply this into other disaster areas, it kind of gives that option of not having it ready beforehand, and kind of hydrogels are there because they're just easy to distribute. If you have a package, you send it to every house, and these can be, put in day one, and they're operational by day 3 or 4. The hydrogels can kind of help families cover those initial 3 or 4 days until this is like a fully functional running unit for the community.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Great job. Any questions from the audience? No? Good job.
Coolio. Yeah. Can we take some photos or?
I'm gonna wrap it up and then I'll end the
All right.
stream.
Okay.
Watch out, there's a cord. So, congratulations everyone. Super proud of you all. You did a great job. And we of course encourage you to use those frameworks that we used for the Capstone project this week, like the business model canvas and the golden circle sustainability complex. It's that fly is awful. Those are all super useful, practical things to actually use in your professional lives. And I really hope that this exercise has been beneficial to you all this week. Again, super proud of all of you. Did a great job. And it just kind of goes to show what all you can do in a short period of time. Embla and I have you running all over Iceland doing all these cool adventure stuff, and then somehow you manage to crank out a pretty solid presentation in just what really amounts to a couple hours of work. It's a couple hours every day or so, but yeah, I mean you didn't have an idea 5 days ago, so that's huge. I'm so proud of you all. So yeah, good job. Goodbye.
Right now.
Okay, I'm just gonna turn this off because I turned the screen. Okay. The stream's still running, but the devices are disconnected. So yeah, good job. Congratulations, guys. We're going to have we'll go in the woods at like 4. So if you can all.
Right back to it.
Cool, Jake. So if you all want to get changed, it's of course a little bit drizzly outside, so you know your outdoor Iceland clothes by this point, you know what you need. But yeah, cool. Just meet back down here at like 4. So you'd like to leave. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Good. You look like you have a question.
What are we doing in the woods?
The very shortest walk that we have done all week. I promise. It's like maybe half a mile. There's maybe like 30 stairs. And we're gonna go. Make a fire. A little fire pit. We're gonna go. My lovely Swede. Do you know the thing where you take the dough and you wrap it around the stick and cook it over the fire?
No.
It's a Swedish thing.
S'mores?
We're gonna do that. No, it's kind of like garlic bread on a stick.
I can fuck with that.
And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. And it's again super easy. I promise. I know I have betrayed your trust many times, but this time, just one more time, please trust me. Yeah, it'll be super easy. And there's garlic bread at the end that you cook on a stick. Come on.
If I see your hiking poles, I will not believe you.
Well, I bring the hiking poles always just
That's
in
a
case
lie.
somebody twists an ankle.
All right. I feel safe with that.
Not that you would know anything about that. But yeah, no, I will always have the hiking poles. It'll always be, yeah, that's another thing. My knee's really not that bad. I just sit at the back and I don't want people at the back to feel that. So when I say my knee's bad, I have my hiking poles just in case anybody needs it. It's all bullshit. It does still hurt, but it's just not that bad.
I was at the back because I felt bad for you, Dan.
And that's why, you know, we work so well. But yeah, so I will always have the hiking poles just in case somebody hurts themselves. And I also am carrying so much stuff in my backpack in case somebody hurts themselves. But you have been so good this week. Please, nobody break themselves on the second to last day. But yeah, so go upstairs, go get changed. I'm all super proud of you. Thank you. Good job.
I want to do photos.
Okay.
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah, of course. There's
There's
and then.
I'm like, what photos?
We're
fine.
Right before dinner. Dinner's either at 6 or 7. I can't remember. Yeah, it'll be before. Wait. What day is it? It's Sunday. No, it's closed.
No!
It's on Sundays. Yeah, you have to get cocktails here. Sorry. That's not the choice. Yeah, but they're so good.
Wait, is it closed?
Those thrills.
Sorry.
That's so cute.
How do they close on
Sorry.
Oh my god, it's like we're in like Texas or something.
Again, they legalized it like 20 years ago, so I mean, yeah.
Katie. Someone do us a favor and take a photo.
Picture.
No toes, no toes.
Whatever is best for you. Whatever you have
Take a photo.
correct. I don't have that information, so I just kind of follow you asleep. So, yeah.
Professional.
Yep. I told them to be back down here at 4 o'clock. It is.
This is my project, I did it on my own.
Wow, this is the most unserious background.
Bro.
Sorry.
Wait, did Cal say yes? To buying you one? No. Fake.
He just loves to be told out.
Hashtag Calvin is overboard. Yeah.
Where is the power button?
Killed it.